Yeah, we are live on all three.
All right, very good.
Okay, so let's wait for a few more seconds and then we can start.
Yep.
And who's some destinations? Okay. Okay. I don't know why it is not showing, but it's okay. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter right now. So welcome Per again, and welcome everyone. I would like to share with you this topic here today is how to decommoditize a product or service, and is it a perception or a reality? Because I wanted to ask, there's so much of discussions going on in this world and a lot of marketing 101 and all that being talked about, and people are talking about a lot about commoditization and all this. So I thought I should bring an expert here. And if you Google the price whisperer, you will see Per, and he is a thought leader and an authority. And he regularly speaks at many conferences and frequently quoted at magazines like Fortune magazine, Inc. magazine, and other places also similar to that. Many of his 700 plus projects have been done for various companies, PE firms, and M&A professionals, and all that, and large to mid-market companies and firms and such search firms and all those. And if I can say, Per, and you can also add to it, that it has your efforts and your company's efforts have increased the sales growth and profit margin on almost all the companies you have touched. And I would like you to speak to this and introduce yourself to our audience again a little bit.
Well, thank you very much, Sandeep. And typical results from when you engage my company is a doubling of sales growth and 25 to 40% higher margins. And that happens very quickly. And because of that, it often leads to a 3 to 5 times higher valuation. There are outliers. I have clients who tells us that we increased the size of the business with 5 times, or in some cases even 10 times over a couple of years. But the topic of this particular conversation is decommoditization, and let's start first by defining what it is to be a commodity, right?
Yeah.
And a commodity is a product or a service that is truly it's sold on price alone. And it's sold on price alone, meaning the lowest price wins the business, because it's identical to all the other products or services in that particular market vertical where the company is. Now, there is a very common mistake that companies do when it comes to pricing. And that is that they look at a competitor and set the price to be equal to the competitor. And that is often the first step into the commoditization death spiral, because you start by setting the same price, and then next time you start to have features and functions that is the same as competitors, and then you have marketing messages that are the same as competitors and value messages, and then suddenly you have no pricing power left. And like I said, the lowest price wins means that all the players in that commodity marketplace get fewer resources to develop new product or services, fewer resources to market. That leads to even more commoditization. and at the end of the day, you end up at the at the very bottom of that commoditization death spiral, and eventually in its graveyard.
Yeah.
But it's really our responsibility as managers in any company to avoid this, right?
But do you think sorry when you talk about managers, do you think that there's a mindset which develops, and the sales people also start thinking this is a uh, commodity, and how do we change that? Do you have any plan for that, or have any idea on that?
Yeah, it comes from timidness, and most companies are timid. What happens here is that if you have salespeople out there, the salespeople hear the same story every day, every time they talk to a client, and that story is that you're not as good as competitors and you're more expensive, right?
Yeah.
And it's simply negotiation tactics.
Yeah.
And when you're a salesperson and you heard that for the 15th time the same day, you start believing it, and you hear it day in and day out. And then you report that up to management, and management is starting to look at competition too much, and instead of understanding what the market wants. And it's what the market wants that matters, not what competitors do and how they price or whatever, and the winner in this is the company that successfully decommoditized themselves. Now, I said, and a commodity, like I said, it's a product or a service that is equal, at least in the perception of customers, to other product or services in the same market vertical, and it's sold on price alone, right?
Yeah.
Now, decommoditization is about doing meaningful differentiation, and let's just think about it. Think about a commodity like gas, right? Can you think of something more commoditized?
Yeah.
Can you also think about the millions, or maybe hundreds of millions of dollars that the gas companies are spending in advertising, in marketing, trying to convince you, the buyer of gas, that that their additive is a little better than the additive of the next guy, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do to defend, a few cents more per gallon.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have another question for you. I think I'm a coffee drinker. I think of coffee as a commodity. I used to think of coffee as a commodity, and then sometimes I go to a shop which has $5 worth of a coffee. It can say organic coffee or something like that. The other ones have the similar, like McDonald's have at maybe $1 a coffee when we drive, when we can go to McDonald's and pick a dollar coffee. What do you think? How are they doing it? Are they have they been successful in decommoditizing that or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny when you just mentioned McDonald's here, because I remember when they when they launched, I think it's called McCafe or something like that, which is a slightly better coffee offering. And I drink a lot of coffee as well. It's a slightly better offering than they used to have. And this was it maybe 12 years ago they come out with McCafe, something like that. And I remember reading journalists that says that because McCafe is so much cheaper than what you get at a Starbucks or at a Coffee Bean or Pete's or any of those places, they completely gonna kill those. They're gonna take them away from the market, right? It didn't happen at all, because you go to Starbucks, you go to a Pete's, you go to a Coffee Bean, and you get something very, very different than you get in a McDonald's, right? The ambience is completely different. The selection is completely different, and the value is completely different. And because of that, these guys can again the Starbucks, Pete's, etc., can charge twice the prices of McDonald's for that coffee. And
Yeah.
Starbucks, by the way, for the audience here, I mean, you may find this of interest that Starbucks is the single largest buyer of milk in the U.S.
I didn't
So
know
what
that.
you to a large extent, when you go to the Starbucks, you get coffee flavored milk.
Okay.
So,
And one thing which triggers the thought here is, who is at fault? Is this the industry as such, or the consumer paints an industry as a commodity, or the industry leaders just, or maybe they are timid, or they have not been able to find a new positioning or something? What do you think is more at fault here?
a lot of it. I mean, one have to realize that there's something out there called the decision landscape, and I've written about that in several articles. And the decision landscape is everything that affects a company's, sorry, not a company, but a buyer's purchase decision. Whether that may be a consumer buyer or maybe a corporate buyer, but there is a decision landscape out there for all purchase decisions. And everything you do in your company affects how that buyer, that potential buyer, makes his or her decisions, whether it's for self or whether it's for a company that they may work for. And it's when understanding that decision landscape, and particularly understanding how it affects willingness to pay, companies can truly elevate themselves by decommoditizing themselves in ways that are meaningful for the buyer, not meaningful for the company, but meaningful for the buyer, right?
Yeah.
And it's when understanding how each of the various elements of the decision landscape truly affect willingness to pay, a company gets the ability to decommoditize themselves, because you can't do it from gut feel.
Yeah.
You can't do it from looking at sales data.
Mhm.
You can't do it from talking to half a dozen existing customers. It's got to be done from statistically valid willingness to pay research.
Yeah, and a bunch of other things also.
Yeah.
So I want to recognize, I think Lynn has joined. Hi, Lynn, how are you? And and if you have any question for Per or anything, please type it in. I think I'll be able to see it here. And we are also online on Twitter and on YouTube. So if you guys have any question, please type it in. And if we are not able to answer all the questions today, and we can take it up another, I'll request for more time from Per next time, and then we'll answer those questions at that time. And I want to ask you, we have talked about commoditization and how some companies have been able to do it and some companies have not been. Is there a recipe? Is there a steps or something where somebody can follow and get hold of, or try to attempt to decommoditize?
Yeah, it's again about willingness to pay research, and obviously this is what we do in my company. We have a completely unique method that is supported by AI software that goes out in online in a company's marketplace, and from that we can predict sales volume and revenue at different prices. But specifically, we can understand how all the different elements in that decision landscape affects pricing and affects what buyers are willing to pay. And this goes into again leading to a company get to understand the most desirable customer profile, whether it's a B2B or B2C customer profile. It can be defined, and it can be defined in such a way that the company can focus on that customer profile. It's about understanding how features and functions of a product or service affect what buyers are willing to pay, what marketing channels and marketing messages affects willingness to pay. and therefore support higher prices and so.
Right.
And also what sales methodologies and so forth affects willingness to pay. And obviously, what price leads to the highest sales volume or the highest revenue or the highest profit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do this um, willingness to pay research in a proper way, you get a recipe for how to elevate your company to the next level and um, differentiate yourself in such a way that competition is not longer an issue because these commodity products are being seen as something that is not as attractive as your differentiated product or service.
Yeah. So I have a question here. So I think you mentioned about differentiation, customer segmentation, and finding what benefits our customers are looking and how much are they willing to pay and what do they want and how to market and all that to ensure that we get hold of a space which we decommoditize our business. Now, what about bundling of products? What about uh, creating some service packages around your commodity product? Or what about like in your example, you said something about what how Shell and Chevron and all those people are fighting with each other, and how about you creating a good shopping experience
Mhm.
and have create bringing some groceries and all that, which which uh, which helps. And does that work also or not, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting when you look at that. People are always willing to pay extra for convenience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is, I've actually took the effort at one point to uh, um, add up the prices of all the individual components in one of those baskets that you give away for Christmas and stuff like that. And it was about 30% more expensive to buy a gift basket than to buy all the individual components because you
Yeah.
have a level of convenience,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And there's almost always ways for which a company can decommoditize themselves by either bundling products with services or services with products. In fact, I I'm just exposed to a company that is doing that. They're in the medical field and they're sort of groundbreaking. Their groundbreaking medicine has now become. I mean, the patent has run out, so there are now generic versions available. And what they do is that they have organized the whole service business around that one generic medicine, right? And in that way, not only do they send more medicine, but also that's a whole new profitable business for the company. So it's a matter of thinking outside the box and truly understand in this case why people buy this medicine or why the medicine is prescribed, and then help patients in this phase to through the process of using that medication and so that it can have the most possible most possible not possible positive outcome
Mm-hmm.
from its usage, you know.
Yeah. No, I thank you very much, Per. I think I'm facing some technical issues here. I'm not able to see the comments or from other channels like LinkedIn, except for Lynn's. Thank you very much, Lynn, for your message for excellent presentation. Somehow I can't see on the LinkedIn being we are live on LinkedIn, but you are able to see that, so that's good for us. And thank you very much. And do you have any like when I look at Apple?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, Apple is was selling uh, products like PC, sorry, the laptops, which are and phones and all that, which should have been a commodity. And I was not or looking at that at that point. But after I became a Mac customer, I think it seems like I have started loving that product, and everything, the ecosystem at my home right now is of Mac. Do you have any thing to say on that? How have they been able to do that? And
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm aging myself here, but before Steve Jobs eventually got back to Apple, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. They had a product that were unique in the way that it had its own operating system. But apart from that, and the features and functions of the Mac at the time was appreciated by the graphics industry and just about nobody else, right?
yeah.
And that's way too small the industry for being successful.
Mhm.
But the then active management were trying to price sell that product into the generic consumer and business market, and they weren't very successful because they were the odd ones out. And apart from that graphical, the graphical industry, they were not successful, but they were the same price. At the time, one of these beige computer boxes was about $700, whether you bought it from Apple or you bought it from Dell or from HP or from any one of the other computer makers at the time. And what Steve Jobs did when he came back, he said, "This is crazy. We have to differentiate ourselves." So what he did was that he created the iMac. It was all in one, had never been done before, meaning you had the computer board inside the monitor, and it was translucent and very colorful, right? And it was sold at $1,299. So almost twice the price of what these other commodity products were sold. And he was hugely successful. And just that one product elevated Apple into the differentiated product they are today. And just like you, Sandeep, I'm doing this on a MacBook Pro, and I have every version of MacBook Pros there ever since the MacBook Pro was introduced.
Yeah. So I think one last thing before we end this session. Two things I would like you to share. One is, how do people contact you? And share your logos of your past projects. Like I'm very, very impressed on how large and small, medium-sized companies have flocked towards you, and you have helped almost every industry in the world. Then the second thing I would like to share is that not everyone, like in the small and startup world, maybe not non-funded startups or small companies may not be able to afford those services. So if they want to do it themselves, and I think you have a course also which teaches a master class also. Would you be able to
Yes.
share that link or something with everyone else here?
Yeah. If we so let me. Well, first of all, the way to find me and my company and my teachings is to simply do a Google search for the Price Whisper. You will find I have a YouTube channel. I have a new book coming out, actually published, that is also called The Price Whisper, and it says everything there is to know about pricing. And if you find my website again, Google The Price Whisper. There's a masterclass on pricing. We charge for it, but as one should, it also teaches you everything there is to know about pricing. But if I do share here, let's see how I do this. This doesn't work as other systems.
Okay.
So let's do this. Let me just make this so that it fills the screen. And I can.
I don't see that. Maybe.
No, you will see it. I just needed to.
Okay.
All right. So, oh, here we have it. All right. So this is the kind of I trust you see my screen.
Yes, I see your screen now.
I mean, this is the kind of result you may get when you decommoditize your products, right?
Wow.
Sound Unlimited is the holding company for a number of the most popular brands in the home theater space, like Denon and Polk and some others,
Yeah.
And these are some of the products that we've been or companies we've been working with. I need to add a few more logos here,
Sure.
but there's in all our 15 years we've been doing this, there's only about one or two companies that says they're not willing to be references, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I reached out to a couple of companies yesterday on behalf of a client, and they all said yes, of course. One company we took from 200 to 250 million in one, in a couple of weeks. Another one we took from 15 to 35 million in 6 weeks. So
Awesome.
It can be done very, very quickly.
Okay, and thank you very much. I am. Let's meet again in a few days, and I think I will. If I get more answers, more questions from people from our audience, I'll send it across to you. And please reach out if you have any questions to Sandeep at smbcapitalpartners.com or per@saphos.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is, but it's because I got this weird name. It's the best way is to find me. My simple Google, the Price Whisperer.
Price Whisperer. Okay. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for your time, and thanks audience for being with us for this conversation.
Thanks, Lynn, for your excellent feedback. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.